Very good. So, a bit of a disclaimer. So the European Medicine Regulatory Network wanted that by 2025 to establish the value of real-world evidence across a spectrum of regulatory use cases. And this paper from 2022 offers some ideas on how we can do that by facilitating access to data and technology, by build business processes, setting standards, as we're talking today, validate methods, share knowledge, training, and establish value across use cases. So we have an international collaboration. And real-world evidence is, I don't know what happened to this slide, but it looked better on PC. Real-world evidence can help with across the entire product life cycle. The traditional use is probably post-authorization that you all heard of, drug safety, real-world evidence in drug safety. But we saw and we think it can be used also in orphan designation, in scientific advice, to decide, to investigate how much a drug is used, sometimes off-label in children, but also during evaluation phase. But these are phases which are traditionally use only clinical trials data. These are the areas where real-world data analysis can support regulatory decision-making. We put them in 3 categories: supporting the planning and validity of applicant studies, understand the clinical context in which a drug is developed and then used. That means disease epidemiology, clinical management, so treatment patterns, and drug utilization. And also investigate association and impact. This is a classical use case of safety, but also effectiveness sometimes, and the impact of regulatory actions. The one with the tick box are the one which are mostly, we mostly seen in our work. And now how we do that? About Darwin EU. So as you heard from Bart, it's a federated network of data, expertise and services, so one stop for all, that supports better decision-making through the whole product life cycle by generating evidence from real-world healthcare data. The advantage of a federated network, if you don't know what it is that the data stays local, so it helps a lot with privacy. We call this privacy by design. And we use a common data model to perform study in a timely manner. So that increases a lot the consistency of the results. Of course, as I said before, it doesn't get rid of all heterogeneity, and we don't want to. It increases speed tremendously. So it's a 5-year project. We are in the 3rd year now, and we have 2 establishment years where we work a lot on standard analytical pipelines, again, to increase the speed of the study. You would think, why is speed so important? Of course, speed in addition to quality, because the regulators work on a very fast-paced schedule. It might not seem so to the outside world, and I understand, but every decision has to be taken in consensus and so on. And I can say, we're working very hard. So the timelines look quite short on the other side, even if from the outside world can look long. So a signal procedure is 6 months maximum when they have a rediscussion. So that's incredibly short for a real-world evidence study. So that's why we want to have this, everything to be done quite fast. As I mentioned, the common data model is maintained by the Odyssey initiative. And they're very active in Europe, but also in US, where they actually originated. It is designed for federated querying and analytics. It basically standardizes all the data sources, both syntactically and semantically, and it has been used already in many observational studies. These are the data partners we have. We are very proud to have them, the 20 so far from 12 European countries, I think. What you don't see here is that in addition to the geographical diversity, we also have a type, a data source diversity, which is very good. So we have hospital data sources, we have primary care, so you're a GP, and we also have some claims data sources. And of course, the linked primary with secondary, which is a gold standard for us. What analysis can we do? So pretty much everything, but we box them in a few categories, and the most important are off-the-shelf and complex, because routine repeated means, as the title says, just repeating a study that was done previously. Off-the-shelves are the one we work so much in the establishment phase. There was the one which are standardized. We already have generic protocols. We already have the code. I'm oversimplifying, but we just plug in the drug and the disease, and the study is done. I'm very oversimplifying, but it's very, very fast compared to a standard study. The second one is a complex study. which means studies that need a kind of customization in addition to off-the-shelf. They're not always very complex analytically or scientifically, but they need a piece of extra code or a specific data partner or something specific bespoke that needs more time. So off-the-shelf study, which is our bread and butter, most of them are off-the-shelf, are mostly patient-level characterization and drug utilization analysis. So that's why IDMP standard will help a lot, because we'll work a lot with drug utilization study. And here are some use case categories. Still, the safety is the main driver. A lot of studies are investigating safety of product after they're marketed. We also have design and feasibility of future studies, applicants study mostly, or company. Drug utilization, as I said, and clinical management and disease epidemiology. So sometimes we need to do a study just to understand the overall survival or how the natural progression of a disease without being specifically linked to a specific drug. And here I want to show two results, extracts from two very early studies. One of them is the prevalence of rare blood cancers in Europe. So you see 6 blood cancer in 5 data sources. They're all in different colors. And on the right, you have a drug utilization study. So the incidence rate of azithromycin, an antibiotic, again in 6 data sources. I just want to show you this to see that already, also with these wonderful tools, standardization, common analytics, hormone data model, RX norm, we still have a lot of heterogeneity. And I'm not saying all of it is bad. Some of it is natural and is normal, but I suspect some of it is still due to lack of standard at the core, as the source. So we can improve that. These are some very busy slides with example of recently completed study. I want to highlight naloxone, which was a very difficult study because we used for a very particular drug, take-home naloxone, where it would be very helpful to be able to identify exactly the product, and we were not able to do so. And that's it for this one. Some learnings that a federated network, we show already that we can deliver timely real-world evidence for medicine regulation, and we hope beyond that. We understood a bit more available and unavailable data, and we want to work on that. The heterogeneity, the topic of today, is adding a lot of complexity to the results, and there is need for further mapping and improving data at the source. We are working ongoing work on standard analytical pipelines, and we are happy to have an excellent stakeholder engaged so far. So we think real-world evidence is being enabled already from our perspective and established across a wide range of regulatory use cases. We completed establishment, although sometimes it doesn't feel like that, but we want to scale up very fast and to do even more study and engage with more data partner. So the study volume is between 60 and 70 this year. But thank you very much to all the collaborators and all the team. And this is the big data highlights if you want to subscribe. Thank you.